Today we're going to be chatting about Swiss design. And yes, by Swiss design, I do mean that ubiquitous design aesthetic that is everywhere from the New York City subway system to Off-White to McDonald's. So let's get into the history of Swiss design and then what the rules are. And yes, I did get a haircut and I'm a little bit nervous about it. Okay, let's get into Swiss design. Swiss design first enters into the zeitgeist in the early 1900s. Prior to this period, design is always, Art Deco or it's arts and crafts. It's this very flourished artistic activity that's not super functional. And so designers across Europe began trying to implement this functionality. In Switzerland in particular, two schools pop up and both of them prioritize what was then called the International Typographic Style. So the philosophy behind what they're teaching is that design should be objective. There should be no decorative flourishes. It needs to be very clear what it's communicating. This is the roots of Swiss design. But the progress of Swiss design comes to a halt in the 1930s because World War II breaks out. And the Nazis actually believed that modern design was a threat. They believed that typography should really be the black letter tradition that they were known for. And so many German designers end up having to flee to Switzerland. And many people believe that this is why Switzerland became such a hub of modern design. So now that we have all these talented designers in Switzerland and the war comes to an end, there ends up being a huge economic boom of international trade. And this requires a lot of design and it requires a lot of functional design. So now we start seeing a lot of progress in Swiss design. One of the biggest contributions to Swiss design during this period is the development of the font Universe. From Universe, we eventually get New Hass-Grotesk, and from New Hass-Grotesk, we eventually get Helvetica, which, fun fact, actually means Switzerland in Latin. I would go so far as to say that Helvetica kind of changed the world. It is the defining font for clear communication. In addition to clear typography, there are several rules that also come into development around Swiss design. So here are the rules. Rule number 1, always use a grid. Rule number 2, font should always be clear, legible, sans serif, aligned to the left and ragged to the right. Rule number 3, asymmetry is key. Asymmetry creates dynamism, which keeps your brain interested and compelled in what you're looking at. Rule number 4, photography is preferred to illustration or decorative objects. Photography accurately conveys the subject or what the event is or what you're trying to communicate. Rule number 5, this is kind of an unspoken rule, but management of white space and proportion is really important. Without that, you're not going to get that classic Swiss design feeling. In other words, you have to have the eye. So by the time the 70s comes around, Swiss design is pretty much ubiquitous across the West. It's everywhere. It's kind of hard to think that at some point we didn't design this way because it feels so prevalent in our society, and yet it is really, really hard to do it and to do a good job with it. This is the classic challenge of Swiss design. It looks so easy, but the easiest things are often the hardest things to design. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm excited to say that we are almost at 20,000 subscribers on TikTok, so be sure to like and follow. Thank you and happy designing.